I'm excited now to get into more of the strategy and the courtroom execution because as a public defender, you've probably just about at this point seen and heard it all. So with your, yeah, I think only the lawyers fully understand what you've probably seen and heard. With that criminal defense background from early in your career, what kind of perspective does it give you where you've obviously defended people where they potentially could lose years of their lives in prison versus, say, defending a father against a very tenuous domestic violence allegation?
Well, you know, in some respects, being a public defender was easier on that front because you had, you know, beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt. And you just don't get that in family court. Preponderance of the evidence is the standard. You know, I've heard judges say, well, you know, I think this is credible. So, and that's frustrating. It's frustrating because, you know, obviously losing your kids is awful. I mean, I think, in fact, I know I've had clients who would rather go to jail than lose their kids. So that part of it is frustrating. You know, as far as people testifying, preparation is key. I can't say that enough. Doing whatever you need to do to make sure that you're staying calm, make sure that you're being factual again, that you're not taking the bait. It's really easy, especially when, you know, I see pro se parties. It's really easy and they get to cross-examine their spouse or their, you know, significant other, the child, you know, mother or father of their child. It's really hard not to want to go in for the jugular, but it just doesn't play well in court. Not in front of juries, not in front of judges. The more professional you can be about it, the more you can listen. That's something I actually had a conversation recently with a client, and we talked about that really listening is kind of a lost art. People just go up there and they ask their questions and they're already looking at the next question before they're getting the answer. Listen to the answer. Take your time in court. Judges, you know, obviously when we're talking about a temporary orders hearing where you've got 20 minutes, that's a little harder. But when we're looking at, you know, the permanent orders hearing where you may have a full day, take your time. Absolutely take your time. One really great thing about Colorado is that the Colorado revised and annotated statutes are online. So you can pull up the statute and get all of the most current case law for free through Lexis. So that's great.
Yeah, that can definitely be a big resource for especially a pro se litigant that isn't dealing with these statutes. I think as an attorney, one of the things you get to hear is you just get to listen to the other attorney's arguments. I like that. I don't like that. You hear that on a regular basis. You see their briefs as a pro se litigant, educating yourself on exactly what you're trying to prove. And being able to take this evidence is going to help me, or this question and this answer is going to help me prove that. And this piece over here is just me taking a shot at my.
And for people who don't know, the annotated statute means that, so if you have a provision in the statute, when you scroll to the very bottom underneath the statute, it'll have the annotations and it will tell you every single case from the Colorado Supreme Court, Colorado Court of Appeals that has discussed that provision. And so it will tell you, you know, that a court was wrong in restricting a parent's parenting time because of this, or that the court should have looked at this factor and they didn't. So those are things, you know, you can use to your advantage by, and judges love that because they're busy. And so if you can tell a judge, you know what, judge, I want you to look at in re, you know, whatever, and here's the citation. Oh, you know, judges start bringing out their pens so that they can go look up that case later too.
Box them in with the precedent.
Yeah. Well, when I was at the public defender's office, we used to call it closing doors. You close the doors around the prosecution.
Yeah. So I think that segues perfectly into, I guess, step 2 of what I talked about previously. You have the mental aspect, and now I think probably the most important role an attorney plays is building out the strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll start out with, when a father walks into your office and they sit down across from you at your desk, or I guess over the last year via Zoom, what do you wish they knew before they sat down in that seat?
Just be honest. I want to know everything, the good, bad, and the ugly. Even if it's something that you think is going to make you look like a bad person, I'm not there to judge you. I am there to help you. And I can't be your advocate unless I know everything that could possibly come into play. And I'd rather have somebody tell me more than tell me less, so that I know, okay, so if I have somebody who comes into my office and they say, you know what, she's going to accuse me of doing drugs. And I say, well, do you? I want to hear yes or no. And I want you to be honest, so that if the answer is yes, I can immediately start taking steps. Okay, this is what we need to do to mitigate it, make sure so that she might think she's got this huge bomb she can use against you, but we want to diffuse it ahead of time. So when we walk into court, she doesn't have it anymore.
Yeah, we want to know the bad facts. We want to know those because we can build the strategy around those.
Exactly. Yeah. I want to know exactly what I'm dealing with. Exactly. Yeah. Like you said, the bad facts, I want to know them, and know that everything you tell an attorney, even if you go in for a free consultation, that's confidential. An attorney can't reveal that. So you're in a place where you can be absolutely 100% honest about, hey, maybe these are some mistakes I made in my past, but this is what I've done, and this is what, and also what you want. That's something, sometimes it's, hard to pin people down because they haven't really thought about, what do you want? And is it feasible? If you want week on, week off, okay, what is your living situation? Because that's something a judge is going to look at. Or if we have a child and family investigator, which we use a lot in Colorado, and they're appointed by the court to do investigations on what is in the best interest of the child. And they come up with a report and they submit it to the court. And the court, I would say 99% of the time, is going to follow the CFI's recommendations. So, but those are all things the court is going to look at. So start thinking about that. If you work the night shift, what's your plan as far as having your kids? Are you going to have a daycare? How would that work? Things like that. Really, what do you want? And tell me the good, bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, I got 2 points on that. One of the most expensive mistakes that a client makes is not disclosing all of the bad facts. Mm-hmm. And then you draft up a declaration, you build out a strategy, they get a little bit more comfortable with you, and then all of a sudden they start talking a lot more, and it's like, okay, what we planned isn't going to work anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And cooperation too. I mean, that's something that, pay attention to emails from your lawyer or their paralegal, because at least in Colorado here, it's all of these, it's very document heavy, a lot of financial documents that need to be disclosed. We typically do written discovery in cases. So pay attention to that, even if you're a pro se litigant. And that's one thing too, Colorado holds pro se litigants to the same standard as attorneys. So you are going to be expected to know the rules, know what has to be disclosed, know what the deadlines are. And it is all available online, but you are expected to know it. So that's something to remember as well.
Yeah. And then I'll make one last point on something you said. And it's actually come up all the last 3 weeks now. One of the strongest privileges that exists is the attorney-client privilege. Mm-hmm. So it's not like if you come in for a consultation, or let's say you retain the attorney and then you decide to go in a different direction. We can't go tell your spouse. We can't go tell opposing counsel. We can't go around town talking about it. Exactly. It has to stay in that office. Mm-hmm. And I thought Joseph Emmerich from Illinois was on last week, and he put it very succinctly. I don't care about your case enough to lose my law license.
Exactly. Exactly. I worked really hard and paid a lot of money for this license.
Yes, exactly.